All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a great weekend here. Thanks so much for stopping by. Happy and excited to be back after being off for a week here. I've really missed it, so I'm really excited to be back. Hope you guys are as well. So like all the other usual live streams, we're gonna go for about 2 hours or so. I'll give priority answering to anyone does a super chat or a super thanks. Those anyone who's a member there with the green usernames, they always get that priority answering. If you would also like that priority answering, you can always join here with a link in the description, and I get that as well. But anyway, I see we have Brian, Harsha, Wheatman, two. Thanks for stopping by, too. Grand, Anthony, Kevin, and Brian. Thank you so much. Also, Brian Harrington for gifting 2 memberships there. I really appreciate the generosity. And Grand Admiral Thrawn, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I really appreciate that too. And yeah, I'm sure all those new members also really appreciate it. But of course, I really appreciate it as well. So thank you all so much for your generosity. And I see Kyle, Jazz, Cars, and Raphael, Luke, Michelle, Austin, Justin, Rafi, Callie, Michael, Adam. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone. All right, so I'm going to get into the member questions here. So Harsha says, good evening. The new Model Y refresh just dropped. They increased the price a lot. There are launch editions, but I would wait for the regular ones to come out. Yeah, I just saw that today. I was doing a screen grab because I'm going to be comparing the Model Y to the new Jeep Wagoneer S with that coming. And that review is coming, by the way, if you are on the West Coast or if you're a night owl, it'll be going live here at 12:01 a.m. So literally after I'm done this live stream, I'm going to I'm always down to the wire half the time. Got to hurry up and do the thumbnail, upload that, get that all set here for midnight, and then that will be going live. Stellantis likes to do these 12:01 a.m. embargoes. But anyway, so yeah, I noticed the Model Y is now being recognized on the American site, for the refresh there. I didn't look too closely into it just because I haven't had the time yet. But yeah, I'm curious to see, what they priced the performance version at. Yeah, I figured they'd probably increase the price, and we'll see if the tax credit goes away. That's not going to help the case of that either. I feel like Model Y, obviously it's still going to sell super well, but might have a little bit of a struggle there, especially that combined with the people that continue to leave Tesla with every different move that Elon makes every day these days. But anyway, Wheatman says, good evening, Matt and fellow car enthusiasts from Northern California. Hope you're doing well, Wheatman. And hopefully I'll be getting to Northern California again at some point this year. There was one trip that I turned down to Napa that'll be coming up here soon. And I just, that one wasn't one I could justify, but I'm hoping to get back to Northern California soon. And two, got some rhymes for us here. I think he says, sup, sadly no two. His weak self is out with the flu, but it's okay. You got Peter, so here's new bars for you. And I promise no politics, already too crazy as it is. I promise I won't play a trump card, just wondering what this here lump is. Never mind. I just want to talk about cars while I'm here spitting my bars while watching the game with their floor play. The Eagles just won a margin by far. I'm getting a text from an ex saying she got that spark plugs, but I told her not to buy a Subaru. Now she has to go. Okay. Thanks so much, too, for stopping by. That's a good. I get it. You're very clever with the rhymes there, the spark plugs and swapping heads there. I hope you're doing well though too, and thanks for stopping by. Let me see. Anthony says his best spot of the weekend was a 2-door Acura Legend. Love that car. Nice. I haven't seen a Legend in a long time. Very, very cool. Nice spot. Let me see. He says, Grant says, I didn't get out much this week, but I did see a white Rivian R1S. Yeah, those are like a dime a dozen around here. I'm honestly kind of surprised. Rivian's doing really well for themselves, I think. I see a lot of them. Two also says, lucky for you guys in the basement, we just get to stare at Matt's Gazoo collection that we're not supposed to talk about. Yeah. I was just thinking today how I still really want a GR Corolla, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Two says another wheat in the meat freezer. Better bundle up too. Two's always bringing the basement lore here to the live streams. Let me see here. Where are we? So, more fresh blood at the Pizza Bricks fan. Man, 2 is going off tonight. And Brian says, "Hi, chat. Saw a previous generation Bumblebee Camaro this week. I own the first and third Transformer movies. Too bad it's not around anymore. The Camaro, I mean, yeah, I'm sad about the Camaro as well. Maybe someday it'll come back. Who knows?" And my comments reloaded here. Let me see. Gotta find where I just did a little jump on me. Grant says, "Did anyone watch the auction for the ZR1? I did not, but did I see that? I don't remember how much it went for, because I thought there was something else that I saw go for like 100 or 500 grand, but I don't think it was that. I think that probably would have gone for more, but I'm curious to know what the price was. Okay, Brian, thank you for the answer. He says Rick Hendrick won it for 3.7 million. Talk about insane markups. I mean, I guess it goes to charity and stuff, so it's, for a good cause, but like paying $3.7 million to be the first one with a ZR1, like, that is all the fuel you need for the markup craze that happens with these things. If you got, insanely rich people willing to pay that much just to have the first one. It's nuts. Anyway, Carr says, "I recently saw a Chrysler Crossfire 3rd Gen El Camino and a Volkswagen B4 Passat TDI wagon. I think I saw 2 Toyota Crowns from a distance." Nice. I actually saw my first Crown Signia out in the wild, actually coming home at the airport this week. And it was in that bronze age kind of color. And I'm actually happy. I'm like, man, maybe Toyota's actually going to build a few more of these than they said they were going. I think they said this back in 24, they're going to build like 16,000 a year or something like that, very limited numbers. But it's such a good vehicle. I really hope they can amp up production of that, because I'd love to see those things around more. But great spots there, cars. And let me see. Luke says, "I'm getting my kitchen remodeled. When my contractor asked me about what dishwasher I want, first thing I said was no Samsung." Good idea. Yeah, stay away from all the Samsung appliances. It seems like they're all not the best. If you remember, my whole saga last summer with our failing fridge, and I don't think Samsung makes the best stuff these days. But hope it's all going well with the remodel, Luke. And Michelle says, "Following up on the Volkswagen brake pedal thing, my Jetta and my family's Passat brake pedals are further forward than the gas pedal. I guess I have pretty strong shins." I guess, yeah, you just got conditioned over the years, or maybe you play a lot of soccer or something. I don't know. Maybe basketball would do shin stuff a little better. I don't know. But yeah, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm weak. Maybe it's just my body type. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting that, they do that. It sounds like for a bunch of different cars, where what we were talking about was something that came up in the Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport review, where the brake pedal is so much higher than the gas. And so whenever you're pivoting your foot, you have to really go over and backwards. And it really is a workout on your shin muscles and your ankle. And at least the way I sit in my body type, it's not fun. I'm glad it's not too bad for you. Austin says, "Hey, Matt, my question for last week was if you think the Mustang RTR will be manual." I would like to think so, especially with Vaughn getting Jr. involved, but then again, I thought manual should have always been offered for EcoBoost, especially for the performance pack that we had last year, and it wasn't. So, it's one of those things where I kind of have to throw my logic out the window, because they're not doing it logically in my mind. I'm sure they have the data to back it up or whatever, but Mustang has a very high manual take rate. So honestly, I can't even envision a scenario, even with EcoBoost, where they wouldn't at least offer it. Doesn't mean you have to make it manual only, but at least offer it, and so I don't know. My logic again would say RTR should be manual, but Ford logic makes me think it'll be automatic only. We'll see what happens. And Justin, thanks for stopping by and saying welcome back there. And Rafi's happy you made one after so long. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Rafi. And let me see. Adam says, "Hey, Matt, so I bought a 2020 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon. It's so fun." That's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. The Wrangler is definitely, it's one of those vehicles, every drive feels like an adventure. And I'm glad you're enjoying it. And Austin says, I'm battling a pretty bad flu, so might not make the full 2 hours. I hope you feel better soon. That definitely sucks. We've been having some off and on sickness here for the past month, actually. It was like I was sick in the beginning of December, and I was sick here in the earlier part of January, and was kind of sick, but last week, if you remember from the last week's weekly update. But thankfully, I'm feeling better here. So, yeah, and thankfully I was feeling better by the time I was going on these trips this week. So I was able to perform at my usual level and and not be struggling there. And Two says, "Oh snap, Two's throwing a fit. Gotta go." Well, thanks for stopping by, Two. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I hope you have a good rest of your night if you are, in fact, heading out. And Austin, yeah, if you have to head out, I totally get it as well with the sickness there. It's no fun. And Osmond says, Matt, when will you drive the A6 3.0T? I want to do another used A6 review for sure. New A6, I don't think there's really any in the press fleet. I don't think there's any interest from Audi to promote the A6 at this point because it's just they're fully in promoting A6 e-tron is kind of what they're currently on. So I don't think there's going to be any new reviews of those. But as far as a used one, that is a vehicle that I think is worthy of a review because I never did a regular A6. I think I've always done S6s in the past when I've done used ones. It's been a long time since I even did one of those. But that's a vehicle I think has the potential to get some good views from used car shoppers that are buying a lot of those things. And I know like my regular like 2020 BMW 3 Series like 330i review still is just like churning out the views. So I think that's one of the ones I would like to revisit for sure. So hoping to do more of those used reviews this year. We'll see again how many press cars I'm swamped with, how many trips I decide to go on and all that. But I'm hoping to, I think I did a better job last year of doing more used stuff, and I want to continue that and maybe even possibly increase that a little bit this year, especially depending on how everything goes as far as people's cost of living this year and stuff. I think used cars, there's a potential for that to even have more appeal this year. We'll see what happens, but so yeah, it's definitely something I want to focus on. And Shane, thank you so much for gifting a membership there. I really appreciate it, and happy to see Justin was able to grab that as well. But thanks so much, Shane. Hope you're doing well. And let me see. Michael says, what car do you really want to review in 2025? I kind of covered this a little bit in my end of year video. There's really nothing that I am super excited for this year. I think the one that was just recently announced this past week was Lyric V, Cadillac Lyric V. I'm excited for that. I'm not, it's not going to be CT5V Blackwing or anything, but I think that one, is going to be fast and should be pretty good. There was one other one too that just popped up that I'm, kind of curious about. I can't remember which one it was though, but I mean, by the end of the year, they're saying that RSX, the new Acura RSX electric thing, will go into production. I'm curious to see how they play that. But yeah, there's nothing that stands out to me this year as like, oh, I can't wait to drive that. I mean, the new Charger with the inline 6 motor will be interesting, but to me, that's not really a mystery because I know how that motor performs in the Ram, and knowing how that powertrain feels, and then now knowing how a Charger EV drives and how that package feels as far as handling and all that, I can kind of simulate in my mind what that is like to drive most likely. I mean, maybe I'll be surprised. That's what I'm looking forward to as well. But yeah, other than that, there's just really nothing. This is honestly the first year where I haven't had like something I'm really pumped about. I think potentially we could see Ioniq 6N this year. I don't think that's been announced as far as like it's actually come. I don't know when it's actually coming, but I think it would come this year. And, if it's just Ioniq 5N, copy and paste it into a sedan body, which means it'll handle even better. That would probably be one of my favorite cars of the year, potentially. We will see. But yeah, other than that, there's really nothing. I'm just kind of taking it day by day, seeing what comes my way, what's offered to me, and see, what new cars come out. Because right now, again, everything that I can think of, there's nothing that's I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat for, honestly. Maybe I'm just getting jaded, I don't know, but there's not a ton of hype. A lot of good cars, a lot of good stuff coming, but nothing from an enthusiast standpoint that makes me super giddy. And Dylan says, "Hey, dude, hope you're feeling better. Cool spot of the week was an Aston Martin DBX. Also, I'm going to look at a 2017 GLI tomorrow, so I'm optimistic about that." Awesome. Well, I hope that goes well for you. Hope, yeah, it's a good test drive and the car checks out and is good. And always fun seeing a DBX. I saw a DBX today as well because there's a local dealer that has one that's been getting snowed on and everything, but it's like canary yellow. And my personal opinion, an Aston Martin should never be yellow. Yeah, I just it just does not look good in my opinion. Save that for the Lamborghini Uruses and crap like that. But the DBX is too classy for yellow personally. But hey, someone spec'd it, and now every time I drive past that dealer, I got to see it until they get rid of it, which might be a while considering it's a canary yellow DBX. But anyway, yeah, great spot. And Harsha says a guy recently bought a C6 Corvette at auction for 330 grand. Seems to be a ripoff. Yeah, unless that's like the first like ZR1 built for C6 generation, or maybe first, like VIN 1 for Z06 for that generation or something. I have no clue. It's got to be something special because otherwise, yeah, there's no rational reason to pay that much money for any C6 Corvette. And Dan says, I just realized you turned the car around. I did, Dan. I remembered actually from the last live stream. And so if you look back at not only this week's weekly update, but I believe last week's weekly update actually had it turned around. I was waiting for a comment to see if you noticed, but I did finally remember. So I do actually retain comments after the fact and remember them. And let me see. Cody says previously had an FK8 Type R. I switched to an SUV for family reasons and now looking to get back into a sports car. Do you think I'd be disappointed with a GR86? It comes down to how, I guess obviously you don't care about the practicality stuff if you have a family SUV still. So if you're going for something a little more pure, I think you would like GR86. The shifter is not going to be as good as a Type R. The ride's not going to be as good as a Type R. Obviously, power is not going to be as good as a Type R. But you're going to have a much more balanced chassis, a lot more poise. And I don't know if you have any experience with rear-wheel drive, but it's a whole new type of fun. Just different fun. I'm not going to say it's better or worse, but just different and a really fun new flavor to try if you haven't already. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be, a good one. If you still want to, I mean, again, I don't know what your, financial situation is, but if you loved the FKA Type R, you can always pick up a nice used another FKA Type R, or if it's been there, done that, if you want to stick with those and you loved them, FL5, you can go to that. If you have the cash, Integra Type S is fantastic. Or even if you want to save a little bit of money, I gotta say, GR Corolla, gotta do my once a stream GR Corolla plug. Fantastic vehicle. Backseat is smaller than Type R, so it's especially nice if you have a family SUV. And the GR Corolla could just be a fun car with a backseat for in a pinch that's a little more usable than at least the GR86 backseat. That could be a nice option as well. But I don't think you'd be disappointed in GR86. It just comes down to also like where you live. Do you live in a place where you can appreciate a car that handles very well? If you live in a place with arrow straight roads and not a whole lot of fun corners, then you're probably better off in a Mustang or something like that, But yeah, there's a lot of variables, and I'm an overanalyzer to the max. So, I could go back and forth all night about the pros and cons, but obviously take it for a test drive if you can. That's always the best thing, and I'm sure that's probably something you're planning anyway. But that should be very illuminating for you, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of whether it is the type of fun you're after. Definitely fun, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot slower though for sure. So just keep that in mind. And let me see here. TFI, thanks so much for being a member for 5 months now. I really appreciate it. He says, hi, Matt, longtime listener, first-time caller. Just wanted to share some good news. GR Corollas are now sub 40 used in Canada. That's about 28 grand USD. Wow, that is dropped off quite a bit here. I mean, I feel bad for owners of those, but as a potential buyer someday, that is very exciting to see that they're getting that cheap. I think around here, the lowest I've seen still is like mid to low 30s. I haven't checked in the past week or two, but it seems like the sentiment has really shifted on those and people are just not excited. That is, I mean, again, maybe I've just drank all the Kool-Aid and I've lost all logic and reasoning, but like it is like the GRs are special. Like it is, a hand built motor. Like it's not what I'm trying to say is I think eventually that car will appreciate. And I don't think they deserve the depreciation that they have. I mean, that's depreciating faster than a RAV4. If you paid 40 grand for a RAV4 for a fully loaded one 2 years ago, I guarantee you it's worth more than 28 grand right now. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to say here is like it is depreciating faster than a regular Toyota. It's more special than a regular Toyota. And just because of this weird funk that car is in right now with people just being over it because of a few Reddit posts about people's engines blowing up or whatever. Like it's it boggles my mind, but yeah, man, I'm gonna go check whenever we're done with the live stream here. I want to see if they've dropped even more. Man, I wish I could find a way to justify it. It's so tempting, and I am still kicking around like a little backup car. I can't afford a GR Corolla for a backup car that is just going to sit there and never get driven anyway. But it makes me want to like maybe hold off on getting a backup car and just waiting if these are going to keep dropping. And maybe in a couple of years, I can afford a used GR Corolla. And then that would be a killer backup car. And it's a special car so that even if it's sat, I feel bad about it. But at least if it's cheaper than the Bullet, then it wouldn't be too bad. I don't know. That is, yeah. Sorry, now I'm going to be just drooling over GR Corollas here in my mind. But anyway, thanks for the comment there, TFI. Ford Enthusiast, thanks so much for being a member for 4 months now. It says, hey, Matt, how's it going? Have not been lucky finding a good Mach-E GT lease. Best was a bit under $600 a month with $5 grand down. May look at an EV6 GT. Well, yeah, EV6 GT, I guess, is a better deal for sure. But that is crazy that you're not getting any lease deals. I don't know what state you live in, but I've been seeing, obviously not the GT, but around here, they've been heavily pushing $399 a month with, I think, 1,000 or maybe 2,000 down on regular Mach-E. Now that's a select. So obviously, going up to GT is gonna be a lot more, but 600 with $5 grand down sounds high. I'd say maybe 600 a month with two, maybe $3 grand down tops. And also the thing that I've learned, because I have actually been shopping, again, potentially getting a backup car here, with these EVs being so insane with their deals. What I found is a lot of these dealers are not actually advertising that. Some of the better dealers are actually putting their deals out there and saying, hey, we're doing this for $100 a month or whatever. But like a lot of these dealers that I found with my calling around is that I first reached out to dealers that were aggressive with their advertising, and then they actually weren't willing to really deal a whole lot beyond their aggressive deal. But then whenever I called other dealers just for the heck of it, just to say, I'm just going to see, just leave no stone unturned. And I called the dealers that weren't actively advertising, and they just suck at marketing, because whenever I called them, they're like, oh yeah. And they actually have offered the best deals. And so I think it's one of those things, if you show interest, and, they're trying to get these things out the door pretty aggressively for all of these EVs before, the music stops here with the tax credit any day now. They're desperate to get these things moved. And so, I think you call and they say, hey, look, here's someone with a pulse that wants, one of these EVs that we're trying to desperately dump. How do we get this person in the door? How do we get this person to sign on the dotted line? And, I would just say, if you have the spare time and you actually seriously want a Mach-E GT, or anything for that matter, especially electric right now, because again, all these dealers are feeling this crunch. I just talked to a dealer this past week, and they're like very aggressively pushing the car that I'm considering. I'm not going to say what it is just yet, because I don't want to get all into it yet, but they are so aggressive. The guy told me, like, we're worried about this tax credit going away, and it's going to be really hard to move these things. And, they understand, they see the news. So I would just call if you have the time and actually see. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And then even if you say, that sounds kind of high, never mind, they'll be hounding you and they will keep dropping the price because a lot of these dealers are desperate. I mean, not all of them. Again, some of these dealers that I talked to, they're like, they came down a few times and they're like, all right, we can't go any lower. And I'm like, that's fine. This other dealer is going lower. Peace. And then I went and continued to talk with other dealers, and the deal, yeah, I don't want to be a tease, but the deal that I have lined up, if I decide to proceed, which I haven't decided yet, but it's truly insane. And even if I don't go for it, I will eventually talk about it because it's like wild the stuff that's out there right now. If you're open to an EV, this like before this tax credit goes away, it is you can get them for nothing, like absolutely nothing. It's crazy. Even here in PA, we don't have great state incentives, and it's just like they are desperate to get rid of these things. Some dealers aren't. Some dealers are still oblivious or stupid or whatever, but you know, the ones that are smart, they are dealing hard right now on EVs. So anyway, random tangent that was unsolicited, but there you go. But yeah, EV6 GTs have already appreciated great. But I know Hyundai's dealing pretty intensely on new Ioniq 5s and 6s and stuff too. So yeah, lots of good stuff out there. But Luke, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, debating if I should ceramic coat my new vehicle seems expensive, and a friend of mine told me to touchless car wash and turtle wax every couple of months. So my opinion on ceramic coating is probably unpopular in the car enthusiast crowd. So I did do ceramic coating on the Bullet, but after a few years, at least with my personality type, I kind of regretted doing it. The main reason why I regretted doing it was that ceramic coating, maybe some of the newest coatings, I'm not 100% up to date on the newest stuff in the past year, but a lot of the newest coating, or the coatings that I, like the one I had on the Bullet, you couldn't take it through an automatic car wash, especially not a touch. Obviously, you shouldn't take any car through a touch car wash if you care about the paint, but like it was like, it will actually like ruin the coating, and then it's such a pain to get the coating off. And you know, I put the Expel on the Bullet, and the whole idea of the Expel was to give you that durability, because the Expel, you can scratch it and then it heals itself in the sun, and it's like, you know, this layer of, you know, invincibility for your car almost, you know, for the paint. And I love that about the Expel. And then I put the ceramic coating on, and then it's like, oh wait, now I can't do that anymore, because ceramic coating basically just put a clear coat over top of the Expel, and kind of ruined that relaxation I had over, you know, the paint, you know, being protected. And now I was like, oh, now I have to be nervous about it again. So especially if you do Expel, maybe Expel has a new ceramic coating that plays better with the, you know, paint protection film. But if they don't, then I would say if you're going to do Expel, then definitely don't bother with ceramic coating. And even if you don't have Expel though, or any, you know, wrap on your car or anything, I still would say, again, unless there's more durable ones these days, I just don't like ceramic coating, because it just seems like it's so demanding. With you have to do a new top coat every year if you want it to look amazing. You have to constantly maintain it, again, make sure that like no one ever, like, you know, touches the car, essentially, because it's so fragile and stuff. They say it's this tough coating, but then there's all this maintenance that's involved, and you have to have all these special rules and everything. And it's just like, from, again, my personality, I don't want to have to worry about all that crap. And it was like, you know, they're saying even with the coating, if you let dirt sit on the car too long, then it could seep into the coating and then ruin the coating, much like a clear coat on a regular car. So it felt like with ceramic coating, I was just basically back at square one. And some people are like, well, yeah, but it's not the actual clear coat, it's the ceramic coating that's taking the abuse, which is true. But then to get the ceramic coating off, it's a whole process. It screws up your clear coat anyway on your paint. And again, I'm not an expert on this, so I may be way off base here, and feel free to correct me or disregard if this sounds idiotic, but that's my understanding of ceramic coatings. And for that reason, I don't recommend them anymore. I did whenever it sounded like a good idea, and you know, like I said, I supported it for a while, and then the more research that I did and the more that I kind of, you know, learned about it, the more I was like, this is kind of a pain. So if you have a show car and you want it to look amazing all the time, and you're sitting there always, you know, babying your car in the garage and, you know, polishing it up every waking moment you have, maybe it's for you. But for someone who actually lives their life, that parks their car outside, has it get dirty, has, you know, crap happen to it, it just seems like, you know, a little bit more of a headache. Anyway, that's you know, just my thoughts on it. But you know, again, everyone has different opinions, so let me know if any of you have different thoughts on that. But Jeremy, also, thank you so much for being a member for 33 months now. I really appreciate almost 3 whole years of support here. Thanks so much, Jeremy. He says, I just realized Honda made DCT cars. The last gen TLX and ILX came with the K24 engines paired with the DCT transmissions. It seems like a fun combo. Yes, and actually, I finally reviewed an ILX last year. I had been begging Honda and or Acura whenever they had, those new, and they never had one in the fleet to send me. I never had a chance to drive the ILX with the DCT until finally last year, and it's pretty good. It's smooth, and which is good for a daily driver. It's not as sporty as I was hoping, but it's not bad, especially for, again, like a first generation kind of early thing. It's really good. I actually think ILX is a hugely underrated car. But if you want to hear all my thoughts on how that transmission performs and how the ILX is with it and that awesome K24 combo, definitely check out the review from last year. Jeremy, sounds like that'd be right up your alley, and hopefully give you some good insight there. But yeah, and thanks again for being a member for so long here. I see Darnell says the modern spray waxes with ceramics are similar and a good step forward. There's so many good chemicals out there these days that it also, there are some of these sprays that have the ceramic in it, and gives you some of those perks. Obviously not as much as the actual coating, but and I see Fuchs says here's the touchless car washes use harsher chemicals to get the job done. Not great for long term. I hadn't heard that. Kind of makes sense though. I wouldn't doubt that. And it's still, you can't beat an actual hand wash. That's still the best way to do it, especially if you're doing it yourself with the 2 bucket method, and you properly are doing it with good products and stuff. That's really the best way to care for your car if you have the time. But let me see. Getting back to the other member questions here, though. Where were we here? So we are getting a little bit behind. So I'm gonna make sure I'm not spending too much time on non-member questions, especially. But I'm gonna try and answer as many as I still can here. But Mr. Alto Ego says, "Hey man, I've been following you ever since you reviewed the Cadillac CTS-V first gen when I had the 2005-2006 LS2. Yeah, CTS-Vs, that first gen was great and still is a great car to this day. I never see them on the road anymore. I don't know what happened to all of them, but great car. If you can hunt one down and get it for a decent price, that's a car I think also could be another appreciating one down the road, and just fun to drive in the meantime too." Austin said, "I heard a 1978 Chevy Chevette with 47 miles on it recently sold at auction for 33 grand. Talk about markup." Yeah, that's wild. That's one of those cars I don't think it ever will appreciate. I don't know if anyone will actually appreciate it. It'll be a fun thing for a museum, but I don't even think a museum should spend 33 grand on that. It is a historical car, but yeah, I don't see how you could justify that either. Harsha says, "Yesterday I had a guy on a bicycle ignore the pedestrian light and ran right in front of me. It was green for me. Unfortunately, my automatic braking stopped in time with my Hyundai Venue." Phew, that's good. That is wild. Yeah, I always feel like bicyclists, this is, I'm speaking in generalities. I'm not wanting to, but I have noticed that bicyclists are often more bold than they often should be. Obviously, we have to watch out for bicyclists, and you have to make sure that that's, a focus. And I think we actually need more bike lanes and stuff just to get them out of the way so they're not, on the roads. But it's so funny the amount of bicyclists that are just like hanging out in the middle of the road around here, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing 15 miles per hour, thanks. They seem like they are a bold bunch. But Zach says, "Looking forward to the Wagoneer S review. Any tidbits before midnight?" Not really. I didn't do a first look video like some others did on that, just because I already did the first look last year whenever they revealed it. So if you are curious to hear some thoughts and you want to hear some more before midnight, you can watch my video from last year on that. Otherwise, all the driving impressions are embargoed, unfortunately. The specs. I guess, okay, one little tidbit I will say, just as a teaser, unfortunately, but definitely watch the acceleration reactions. It'll be a surprise. It really surprised me. You'll see in what way I'm talking about. It's not just the speed, but you'll see the little surprise of of accelerating in the Wagoneer S. It's a good time, actually. That video probably won't get a lot of views, and a lot of people will probably have no clue what that is like to drive. But I'll say, if you're a fan of my reactions, you should watch the Wagoneer S review. Just even for just for the reaction, even if you don't care about the car. If you enjoy my reactions, I think this is one that you would enjoy. So that's all I will say about that for now. But yeah, stay tuned until midnight or whenever it's convenient to watch that. But that'll be going live there at midnight. Luke says I wasn't on the last 2 weeks because I had to get up at 3 a.m. for work on Monday. All good. I totally get it. I'd like to try an earlier one of these at some point as well, maybe after the football season's over. So I'm not competing with football games and stuff. But yeah, I we'll see if I can ever do that. It's kind of tough because I'm always spending every waking moment with the family when I'm not working. And these evening ones, at least, they're nice because I don't have to, take away time from my daughter. But we'll see if we can do an earlier one sometime because I know the early ones or the late ones are harder for some folks as well. And Michelle says, crazy story. My friend went with another friend to test drive a new 25 Grand Cherokee Limited. When they got on the main road, the entire car locked up, steering, shifter, screens, everything. Luckily, they were able to safely stop the car. Sales guy had to come get them. Safe to say his face was red as a tomato. Wow, that's nuts. I don't know what's going on with the electronics in these Stellantis vehicles. That is bizarre because like Grand Cherokee's been out for several years now. Should not be any issues. And to me, that almost sounds like a 12-volt battery that died. But if the car is running and the alternator is working, it should be charging the battery. So why would it die like that? Yeah, they must have a faulty alternator. I hope that's a 1 in a million kind of problem for a brand new Grand Cherokee. Because if anything like that is remotely common, or even more than like a 1% failure rate, then that's even 1% is honestly too high. That's insane. So wow, that is nuts. Glad no one was hurt there. That sounds like a recall waiting to happen there. That's nuts. Thanks for sharing. And Sean, thanks for being a member for 30 months now. He says, hey, Matt, any thoughts or insights on the potential reliability of the Hurricane Inline 6? Also, what are the plans on the Mach-E? So as far as reliability of Hurricane, I think that motor is going to be very reliable from a mechanical standpoint. Again, electronics, anyone's guess. But as far as the mechanical components, I think it's going to be very well built. The reason why is, one, it's a truck motor. Truck motors, they usually go through heavier duty testing than your average, passenger car kind of thing, because they know people are towing, people are doing heavy duty stuff, even with a non-heavy duty, Ram. And so, that's something that they take into account whenever they're engineering this stuff. And they built that motor, I think, pretty much first and foremost as, a truck motor. And so, I think it's going to hopefully stand the test of time. I think Ram makes some pretty reliable engines. And so I'm confident in it. The other thing that makes me confident in it is the fact that they know that they're working on mods for it. They showed at SEMA, I think there's already a crate motor version of the Hurricane motor that's like 1,000 horsepower. I'm not going to go so far as to call it the next 2JZ yet or anything like that, but I could see it kind of, doing that kind of power. We know historically inline sixes from any car company are usually pretty strong, stout, very well performing motors. And this one, again, because they seem like they're interested in doing aftermarket support and doing crate motor versions and doing all this other stuff, they have this stuff in mind. We're not talking about, Lincoln doing an inline six or something that probably has no eye on performance. We're talking about Dodge and Mopar and them showing it off at SEMA and all this stuff. So that all tells me that they're anticipating people will, tinker with these things, boost the power in them, and they're expecting that, and they've hopefully prepared for that so they don't have egg on their face, the second that someone turns up the boost a little bit and, has the thing blow to smithereens. So, I'm hoping it is a pretty reliable motor. Time will tell. But I'm optimistic personally. And we'll see though. As far as plans on the Mach-E, if you're talking about our Mach-E in particular, so we actually did the longer Ford options lease / buy kind of thing. So we did 4 years. So it's not we're not going to be turning it in until the summer of 2026. And And yeah, we still have kind of all options on the table as far as what we'll replace it with. It's also going to come down to what we can afford by summer of 2026. Yeah, this whole year, I'm just taking it one day at a time because there's so much unpredictability in the country, in the world. I'm usually a big planner, but I've kind of thrown planning out the window. We're gonna see what happens. The one thing I'm gonna keep an eye on here is as we get into this summer and into the fall, I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on, is there anything we want to just like place a pre-order for, or anything that we want to just have a placeholder, a deposit on, if there's anything cool around the horizon, that would pique our interest. Like I know Beth really likes the Rivian R2 that's coming in 2026. Again, there's a lot of stuff coming in 26, and so it's kind of a perfect time for us to try something new if we want to. But like the Rivian, we would have to have CarPlay. You'll see, I'm going to be posting my review of the R1T. I finally actually had one and had one for a week. But I mean, as you could probably predict from me, the CarPlay thing just annoyed me to no end. So that is a complete deal breaker. We'll not consider the R2. But if in the next year or so they say, okay, fine, we'll open up CarPlay, R2 could be in play. That starts at 45 grand. I'd like to think that, we could afford at least maybe a base one of those on a lease or something. Again, depending on, what pricing is like at that point in time. But, I don't know, but honestly, Beth really loves the Mach-E so much. The final thing I'll say is we're strongly considering just sticking with a Mach-E. Probably not hers because they're depreciating, in free fall. So, probably we'll dump this one once it's done, even though it's been a good car for us, knock on wood. But probably we'll dump it and, go into a newer one and at least upgrade a couple of years, either get a used one, or, lease. We do like the changes for 25, having the column shifter, having the cooled seats. And Beth just is really happy with it. So I think there's a strong chance we just stick with a Mach-E. I mean, she really likes the eruption green color, as do I, predictably. So there's a decent chance we just go for a 24 or a 25 or maybe even a 26, eruption green Mach-E premium, and just stick with that. Super boring, I know, especially from a content standpoint or anything. But there's a decent chance something like that happens as well. So we'll see. Again, it's so hard to predict. And also, again, it's so hard to predict what other new things are going to come out by 2026. We've heard some of these long range plug-in hybrids from Toyota could potentially come by then. There's a lot of, tempting things, and we'll see how our life is, different or the same in a year and a half, as far as, are we driving more places? Do we, want to stick to an EV? Do we want to go to a plug-in hybrid? I think Beth definitely loves the electrified thing. So I think we'll probably stick with an EV, but we'll see. Anyway, that's the current status. Still in a holding pattern though. I see Sean says in the end, it's what the wife wants. Well, I mean, and I drive the Mach-E so rarely. I'd say in the past year, I probably put, I don't know, maybe 500 miles on the Mach-E in 2024. I mean, Beth did the large majority of that driving. So it really is, what, it matters because she's the only one really driving it. So that's why I kind of leave it up to her as long as it's affordable and not, something I think is going to be a nightmare from a reliability standpoint or something. But yeah, and thanks so much again for being a member here for 30 months, Sean. I really appreciate it. And let me see here, getting back to the other member questions. Let me see. Leo says, hi, Matt, been watching your videos since 2013 when I was 12. Loved watching your BRZ videos. I really appreciate that. It says, you had always inspired me to get a BRZ. Well, good news. I finally bought myself a BRZ yesterday. That's awesome, Leo. Thanks for sharing that. And congrats. And I hope you enjoy it to the max. Hope it lives up to your expectations. I probably, over sold that car, but hopefully you really do enjoy it. Hopefully, hopefully it lives up to those expectations. But it's a great car, even just to tune it, make it your own, and have fun with it. So awesome to hear that. And enjoy it to the max. And Cara says, not sure why, but now that I have a second channel, I get an error on PC when trying to comment on your live stream. Try switching accounts, but only works on my phone. Only subs of 48 hours or longer. Interesting. Yeah, so I do have it set up so that you have to be a subscriber for at least 2 days, but that's weird that it's not letting you if you've been a subscriber on both. I don't know. I see other people commenting, so I guess it's hopefully working. I don't know what the deal is there, but thanks for letting me know, Cars, and let me know if it still is that same way next week. And Decepticon says that Matt Moran himself. Hope you're doing well, Decepticon, and thanks for stopping by. TFI says, love the used car reviews. Drove an A6 with the supercharged V6. It's so damn quick. I wasn't prepared for the torque. Hot take, supercharged V6 is a good sub for an NAV8. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And superchargers are a lot of fun in anything, but especially, yeah, I'm sure it's a strong motor. I think I drove a supercharged one way back when I used to work at an Audi dealer, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I want to try out an A6 again for sure. Harsha says, one of my friends traded in his 2003 Toyota Highlander for a Mitsubishi Outlander from a rental company. Is it a horrible decision because of the reliability, especially with the Nissan CVT? The thing is, that is a newer Nissan CVT. The Jacko ones that everyone loves to beat on, and just, completely just complain about nonstop. I can't remember when they quit putting that in Nissans, but they have changed their CVT in the past decade and a half or whatever since that problematic early one. I'm pretty sure the Outlander has the newer CVT, and I'm pretty sure those CVTs are now better. Like anything, it also is going to come down to maintenance. That can go either way. If a former rental, typically rental vehicles do get their maintenance done on a reliable, predictable, good schedule. But then you have the abuse, of course, of renters. So, kind of a flip of the coin, in my opinion. But personally, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. It sounds like newer Nissans are better. Would I keep it and hope to get 300,000 miles out of it? Probably not, maybe not even 200. But, I think it should last a good long while, hopefully. Depending on, what year it is and how it was treated. But I think hopefully it'll be better. I can't promise anything, but I'd like to think it's, going to be a little more solid these days. We see Kyle, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships here. I really appreciate it. Happy to see a bunch of people able to get those here. And thanks so much again, Kyle, for your continued generosity. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. I hope you're doing well too. And thanks for stopping by as well. And let me see here. Other questions. Theodore says, how are you feeling tonight? I'm feeling much better. Thanks for asking. Luke says, my 25 Maverick Lariat says it should arrive between February 10th and the 16th. Nice. Well, I'm sure the anticipation is killing you as you're getting closer and closer to the delivery there. Hope you enjoy it. And I hope it goes smoothly with the delivery for you. See, Dan says he missed the last weekly update there as far as flipping the DeLorean around over. I can't point when everything's reversed. There it is. We were talking about that a minute ago. And let me see. Harsha says the C6 is a 2012 with a base V8. It only has 65 miles on it. Okay, well then that's optimistic. Even if it's like a brand new C6. What did you say? It was like with 330 grand for a base C6? I don't know, man. It must be like money laundering or something. People spending too much money. It's like the people that buy a painting for like $3 million. It's like a ketchup bottle with duct tape stuck on it or something. It's like, this is like how, like, it's just money laundering. That's all it is. It's like, I need to buy something to, have this money exchange hands from this person to this person. That, to me, that stuff seems so shady. And that seems like, maybe that's just someone who really loves the C6. But I don't see any world where a C6 is ever worth $330,000 for a regular C6. That's nuts. And OG Skywalker says, what car do you think deserves a manual transmission the most? That's a good question. I think what I would love to see, this is just because of my own bias with like the cars that I like. I really wish Ferrari would bring back a proper manual transmission OEM and pair it up to the naturally aspirated V12. That, like a new manual V12 from Ferrari, doesn't get much better than that in my mind. That would be epic. So that's my vote for that. Great question, OG. Sid says, I'm selling my G86 Aconi edition soon. If anyone wants it, hit me up. Good to know. Thanks, Sid. He says, manual only, hand washed. All right. Yeah. And sad to hear you're getting rid of it, but someone else was thinking about the G86. Maybe you guys could make a deal or something. But yeah, sorry to hear that you're getting rid of yours there, Sid. And Vishal, thanks so much for being a member for 9 months now. I really appreciate it. He says, we decided to hang on to our 21 Highlander. Doesn't make sense to get rid of it when we're set to pay it off this year. Can't beat a paid off Toyota. That is certainly true. And yeah, you got a lot of life left in a 21 Highlander, I'm sure, regardless of the miles on it. So good deal there. And also congrats on getting it paid off here this year. That's an awesome achievement. And yeah, great to see. I'm always jumping from car to car all the time, so I never usually have a car just paid off with no payment. I don't know what that's like. I'm almost nervous, like if I get used on having a car payment, then I wouldn't want to go back to it. But yeah, it must be a nice feeling. Brian says the European car of the year is the $27,000 Renault 5 or R5 electric. It has buttons for climate and stereo, yet other automakers are saying it's too expensive to make buttons. Yeah, I wish we got that Renault here in the States. I wish they could find a way to bring it through, Nissan or Mitsubishi, call it the new Mirage and ship it over. I'd love that. And maybe TFI would as well, being a Mirage fan, but seriously, like, I love that thing looks so cool. And yeah, Europeans get so many good vehicles. I am definitely like European in mindset as far as the types of cars I like and the kinds of cars that just, it makes so much sense. And anyway, I won't go on that tangent, but that's cool to hear. I didn't know that was the European car of the year. That's fun. And let me see. TFI says in Canada, a 50 grand GR Corolla is approaching Lexus territory. For the same price, I can buy a used 20 RX 350 with a V6. My mind's telling me no, but my back's telling me yes. Well, if you want comfort, absolutely. It's hard to beat, an RX for comfort. They're very, very well done. But obviously, it doesn't hold a candle in the fun department. But, all comes down to priorities. Cody says, love the Hakone green. Don't love bronze wheels or tan interior. GR Corolla looks really cool, but seems like a much lower ceiling than the GR86 with mods. Turbo GR86 kits are readily available now. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. If you're in the mod scene, yeah, I know it's kind of a little bit of a wait and see thing there with the GR Corolla for sure. And yeah, I can't blame you for that. I mean, obviously Savage Geese did a very good job of documenting, what you can do with that car. At least as far as, just making it like a reliable track car and doing those types of things. But yeah, that is something I'm really out of touch with the mod scene these days and what people, can do with these cars and what they want to do. And so if the tuning community isn't into GR Corolla because they can't go to 500 horsepower with them or something, then I get it, I guess. I'm not that target demographic, I guess. Thanks for the info on that. And Vinny, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I really appreciate all the generosity tonight, everyone. It's awesome to see the membership group grow here. And as we head into next week, all those who are new members, stay tuned for my member upload schedule I post every month, and going to try and do some more exclusives as well. Always open to suggestions too. If there's any exclusive member only videos you guys like to see that are quick, kind of one take things that I can do, be more than happy to do any of those. I should probably do a new shelf tour because I did one of those a couple of years ago and added a few things. Might be a fun little video just to quickly put out there. This, because I do want to do more exclusive member videos. I have been doing less than I want to do for that, so I need to do more. But anyway, thank you so much for the support, especially. It really means a lot. And let me see other questions here. Ford Enthusiast says, Matt, I am in New York State on Long Island. Maybe as it gets closer to end of the month, the price may drop. Yeah, well, like I said, any day, again, these tax credits are going to go away probably. I mean, it'll probably take time, but some of these dealers don't seem to think like they have a whole lot of time left. So, again, I'd get on their call list and make sure that, just register your interest with these dealers. because again, it seems like they don't have enough people to get rid of these EVs fast enough. So yeah, very fascinating to see. I've never experienced a time like this ever in my life with companies being this desperate to unload inventory. Honestly, it's really remarkable. Um, and Rafi says, to be honest, I'd rather get the car waxed once or twice a year rather than ceramic coating. Yeah, I mean, waxing's great. I love the bonding experience you have with actually putting some elbow grease into waxing a car. Maybe I'm just old school like that, but I always appreciate that. And Fuchs says, yeah, okay, I commented that earlier about the touchless car wash. And Vishal, thank you so much for a very kind super chat. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. He says they're offering $6,000 off the Grand Cherokee plus other incentives. Safe to say that friend is scarred from Jeep and Stellantis products in general now after that test drive. I do not blame them. I mean, as anyone can attest to, if you have ever been stranded on the side of the road, it really makes you lose all faith and hope and trust in that car. Unless you understand why something broke, and it's something that's predictable that you were expecting to break, I guess that's one thing. But whenever you, especially are buying a brand new car or anything that you're expecting it to be reliable, you're not even having it on your radar to worry about this stuff, and then it just lets you down and physically will not get you to where you need to go. I mean, being stranded on the side of the road sucks. I've been there plenty of times. Absolutely hate it. That's why I got rid of the Mini so fast, 10 years ago, because it's just like I could not handle that. It's not fun. So don't blame them whatsoever. And yeah, if that is, yeah, that's just insane. A brand new car would do that in any circumstance for any brand at all. That's just like completely unacceptable. That's nuts. $6,000 off is not enough, especially after that experience. But anyway, thanks so much, Michelle, for now your 5th super, by the way, on the channel. Thanks so much for that. And yeah, I hope your friend does find something that they like or that is good. I know if you've been scarred with a vehicle leaving you on the side of the road, the appeal for a tried and true safe Toyota or Honda or one of these brands that historically is not going to let you down, might be the way to go, for someone like that. And let me see here. Other member questions. Where were we here? Rafi says, to be honest, I'd rather get the car waxed. Okay, sorry. Reread that one there. I see Rafi says he's done the ceramic coating once and probably won't do it again. Let me see here. Other questions. Sean says, my car is always used and I have to park on dirt. I have no problem using a drive-through car wash, especially if it's touchless. Yeah. I think the touchless ones, maybe the chemicals are bad. I don't know. I haven't, kept the car long enough to see what it does to paint, over 10 years or anything. But touchless ones, in my experience, have been fine. They don't do the best job of washing it, but if you're, in a time crunch or it's freezing outside, you don't want to bother with it. It gets, I'd say 80% of the job done, depending on the size of your car. But yeah, Austin says, the older I get, the less I care about having my car perfect. Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I don't even know if it's an age thing. Maybe there's an age component as well, but I think it also is just like a time component. It seems like the people that have the time and the mental bandwidth to be OCD about their car are people who don't have a whole lot of other things to worry about typically. Making everyone's personality is different, but the people that I know in my life that, could be meticulous with their car, they're the people that, again, they've found a way to have more free time, whether they are successful in business and have a lot of free time that way, or don't have, a lot of family or a lot of, other things that occupy their time, other hobbies, whatever the case might be. Some people just, they're happy to spend the entire weekend in the garage, sitting there and waxing their car once a week just for fun. Again, everyone has their own enjoyment in their own ways, but yeah, I'm the same way. I think I did have more time, and I was a lot more into that, in my younger years. Not like I'm old. I'm going to be 35 this year, but especially not just, again, time. I just don't have time to be meticulous, and I felt bad about the Bullet for that reason as well, because I didn't have that time to do those hand washes and obsess over everything. It was always just rush, rush, rush. And so that's why I'm happy the car is now, getting a better life, I'd say, with its new owner who can, spend some more time there with it. And Rafael says, my reason for not liking ceramic coatings is because I like trying lots of different waxes and sealants. That's fun. Yeah. You honestly, I don't know if you have a YouTube channel, Rafael, but that would be a great thing, even just to blog about if you don't want to be on camera or something. Just, type up your thoughts. I'm sure people would love to hear your experiences of comparing one versus the other. I'd even love to, hear your thoughts on your favorite, coatings. Because, if you've tried all these things, then you have a better, depth of experience than, a lot of people, I think. And you can save people a lot of money too. So if you haven't done that already, I'd love to hear your thoughts at some point if you have the free time and, and the will to do it. But let me see. If the OG's agreeing about the DCT K24, yeah, they did a good job on it, I think. And Austin says bicyclists feel like traffic signals are a suggestion. Yeah, it does seem like they feel like, yeah, the laws of the road don't always apply to them, and maybe some of them don't. I don't know, but it is definitely interesting to witness sometimes. And let me see here. Callie says, skip my comment, but that's okay. Have a nice evening. Sorry, I missed it, Callie. Never mean to skip a comment deliberately. Let me see if I can scroll back and find it here. Because I don't ever want anyone to feel like they missed their comments. It just says, I see you said good evening. I didn't see any others, but thanks for saying hi, Callie, once again, and stopping by here. And if you have any other questions, again, I'm always ready to answer member questions. I think we're doing a pretty good job here of keeping up with member comments tonight and everyone else as well, I think. But let me see. Greg wants me to do some reviews of heavy equipment. That'd be funny. I did do a tractor review for April Fool's. I don't know when that was. Probably at this point 8 years ago or something. That was fun. It was a challenge to film, but it was fun. So you can watch that if you want to see me riding around on it. It was a 1957 John Deere tractor. One of the long lost, forgotten reviews. Definitely fun if you want to kill 10 minutes and are bored someday. I see Cars is excited about the Wagoneer S review. Happy to see it. Thanks for using the emojis there, Cars. Jazz says, Matt, have you ever known someone who rolled the dice and purchased a car with a salvage title? I realize the risks with some are bargains. I don't know too many people that have bought salvage vehicles. But I do know I've talked to the guy who fixed my Mustangs in the past whenever I had all the chaos with the cursed Mustang GT. And I kind of talked to him, whenever I kept the Mustang the first time after the first accident, I was like, is it still going to be as solid, because you're welding in all this new stuff. And, I was just a little nervous about like the roadworthiness. Obviously, this was a top-notch body shop. I knew they did amazing work, but I was just, kind of iffy about that. And he was like, honestly, he's like, whenever we fix some of this stuff, again, if it's fixed well, which is really the thing, I think he told me basically they use like sturdier, better, they do things better than OEM for, replacing panels sometimes for when they're welding things in, when they're cutting at the C-pillar, like they had to do whenever the tree fell on the Mustang. Like, he's like, we actually like that piece will be stronger than it was from the factory because of the way we have to repair it. Is just, you have that extra weld there and that extra strength. So I think the case could be made what I would say is if the body shop, that's a very privileged position to be in, but if you know the quality of the work that is being done at the place and you happen to run across a salvage title and where it was fixed at and it's a good shop, then I would have confidence in that car being sound and well done. I still am a little superstitious. I don't love the idea of driving around in a car that was wrecked just from a again, just superstitious standpoint myself. That's just me being weird. But I think, yeah, if you can either verify it, again, because it's local, or even just if you can have someone that can do a good inspection. Obviously, some stuff is hidden and you can't, ever know without actually taking parts off the car and stuff. But especially if it's something simple like, the front bumper was replaced or something, you can go through and peek through and see, how does the frame look? How does everything else look? Um, but, the thing is, a lot of these body shops, though, might cut some corners, might use aftermarket parts instead of OEM parts or used parts. There is a lot of corner cutting that happens, and that's, I think, the problem with the salvage title stuff is that, like, a lot of them are just cobbled together, half-assed fixes kind of thing, and it's not great. It's impossible to really know, again, unless you have a personal connection and you know the story of the car. In that case, sure. Otherwise, personally, it is a roll of the dice. Everyone's risk tolerances are different. And if, that doesn't bother you and, that's something that you can feel comfortable with, then yeah, right. The deals are great. And there's plenty of them out there. And there's plenty of people out there that can get that. And, they're just stroll right along with no cares in the world. But it's just come down to your personality. Personally, though, I wouldn't buy a salvage title vehicle. Even if it was, from my body shop that I know very well, just because, again, I don't like the idea of, a car that's been through a horrific thing, but a minor fender bender or something, could be a good deal, for sure. And let me see. So Dave says, my insurance company won't insure a car with a previous salvage title. Interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, that's a very good point. Thanks for saying that, Dave. Good to know for Jazz or for anyone. I didn't know that was ever a thing. That's surprising. I mean, I guess, with a lot of times, the other thing with salvage title is it's not even just like a wreck. Usually, like, salvage means it is like totaled, which, it's usually a pretty severe wreck. And so that's why, it is, more of a roll of the dice than even, just regular like accident kind of body damage stuff. But yeah, it makes sense. But I never thought about insurance companies not actually insuring that. Fascinating. Thanks so much for that, Dave. Darnell's asking my thoughts on the new Shelby GT350. You can watch my weekly update. This week, I shared all my thoughts on it there. And yeah, it's not a real Shelby. And it's not a real GT350, in my opinion. And it's just a bolt-on Whipple kit with stripes and a body kit. It's not exciting at all to me. At all. Like, zero interest in anything like that. It's ridiculous. It's 105 grand. It could be like they could charge like $1,000 extra for that appearance package, or the 10 grand that they charge for the Ford Performance Whipple. They could even throw in everything for free and say it's 10 grand more than a regular GT, and I still wouldn't be interested in it. It's just like, I have no appeal for that. If you're gonna spend 105 grand, either buy yourself a real GT350, which is truly magical and way better than a Whipple, 5.0. I mean, Whipple 5.0 might be faster in a straight line, but if that's all you care about, go for a GT500, which also is less than 105 grand, or, a variety of other stuff. There's a lot of sweet stuff for $105,000. That's another one of those things where I'm just like, why do people spend their money on that? But yeah, different strokes for different folks. Greg's asking for flashback reviews, 90s, 2000s. Absolutely. That's stuff I want to do more of this year. It's just a little bit of a challenge to get my hands on that stuff. A lot of used dealers don't stock stuff that old anymore. I have owners of vehicles that have reached out and offered stuff over the years, and I have a list that goes back for probably almost 10 years of people still probably waiting for me to review their car. That might not even have the car anymore, but I have a long list of vehicles. It's just usually, again, I'm so slammed with the new stuff. And I'd like to do more used stuff, though, for sure. The thing is, my channel is still about car buying advice primarily. And, sure, it's fun to take that stuff for a spin. But the real moneymaker on this channel, the thing that keeps putting bread on the table, is your reviews where people continue to shop for a car. And sure, there's going to be a lot of people that are just, every once in a while be excited to see a review of a 1999 Honda Prelude, which I did, many years ago. But that video is not getting hardly any views anymore. That's a very niche thing. And, obviously there's a fine line between, fun stuff, which is going to get less views than a Camry review or something. I try and do a little bit of both and a little bit of everything for everybody, but it's got to be something, at least with new sports cars, there's still active shoppers looking for reviews of that stuff. And you just don't have a lot of shoppers for, again, a 1999 Prelude, for example, and a very limited amount of people that are searching for a review of something that's that old. So that's kind of the reason why they're fun, and if they're easy for me to do, like they're local, or again, it happens to pop up in the dealership that I work with a lot for reviews, like that's something I wouldn't mind spending a couple hours doing that, even though I know it's probably going to be a dead end from a money making standpoint. But that's the kind of stuff where, sure, if I were just doing this for fun and not as a business, yeah, I'd go drive all the stuff I want to drive, all the fun, random, quirky stuff. But that's not what pays the bills, unfortunately. But I'm happy. I still have a lot of fun doing a lot of the new stuff too. And again, getting to mix in some of those, fun, selfish vehicles in a way for myself every once in a while too. Like I was really happy this, last year I did Pontiac Solstice, which is a car I've been wanting to drive forever. Saturn Sky Redline, finally got to drive one of those. Been wanting to drive one of those for, over a decade, and finally got a chance to do that. So I was able to do some of those things this year. Finally drove a Macan, believe it or not. It took me forever to get into one of those. Finally drove a Macan in the past, year and a half here or so. So, I mean, I'm, doing some of those, use things, but yeah, I'm only going back so far. Because once I get too old with the reviews, some of them get some views. Some of the classic muscle car stuff that I've done continues to get some decent views. But some of the like quirky stuff, like I did a 1957 Ford Ranchero, nobody watched that. I loved it. I had a great time. It's really fun seeing me like drive a 1950s car and the hilarity of the quirks of that. But just doesn't have mass appeal. So even though, a few of you might have enjoyed that, most people will have no idea that even exists, because just the algorithm buries that and that's it. But anyway, let me see. Darnell says he'd rather have 5.2, but a factory Whipple 5.0 is cool for a turnkey. Yeah, just not special in my opinion. They're a dime a dozen. But Jazz says I don't think bicycles should be on the road. Bike lanes won't help enough. Intersections and the like. Bicycles on the road are just too unsafe, and car drivers will be blamed when there is an event. Yeah, I mean it's tough. I still feel like people deserve to be able to like enjoy bikes. And not be confined to, a stationary bike or some little trail or something. But yeah, I think there's some roads where it's just too dangerous, and there should be some roads where like they just shouldn't be on, but yeah, I'd like to see them try and accommodate people, but it's, yeah, I think they also need to have this agreement of, let's make sure that we're not, being unsafe for everyone else around us as well. And Harsha says these Rivian vans look so charming. They look like a vehicle that you would see in a video game with boxy styling and round headlights. I know. I love those new Amazon trucks. It's so fun. I see them every day. Yeah, I see them pretty much every day now too. It's great to see them. And Sean says GT350 should just be a body kit, or shouldn't just be a body kit with bolt-ons, and be priced accordingly. The GT500 should be built with boost and internals. Yeah, I mean, I just, I think Ford did it right the first time around. And, I think the Shelby American just wants to cash in on the, inherent desire that a lot of people have for a new one. Ford's not going to actually do a new one, probably. Maybe they will someday. I don't know. But I think that, the Voodoo motors are pretty much done, at least as far as the naturally aspirated one. But yeah, I'm sure they'll probably do a GT500 since that motor is still in production in the Raptor R. It wouldn't be too hard to keep it going and pop that into a S650. But I think the GT350 is gone for good, which is so sad because it's such an amazing car, even if the motor was problematic. And let me see. Nathan says hello from Dallas. Thanks for stopping by, Nathan. I see Brian says the commenting's working for him, so that's good to see. And Jason says, what are your thoughts on the new Forester? I don't know much about it other than it reminds me of an Explorer. Yeah, I did a whole review on it last year. Definitely check that out for, all of my in-depth thoughts on it. My quick, 15-second thoughts are it's underwhelming. They phoned it in. Interior is not competitive with everything else in the segment. It's fine from a space standpoint, but just the technology sucks compared to, again, the best competitors out there. The styling is just not good in my opinion. And it's just okay. And in that segment, it's so competitive. Just okay isn't good enough unless, I mean, they're really at this point just banking on the goodwill of people that enjoy Foresters and are just Subaru loyalists. And there's a lot of them out there. And Subaru's cracked some magical potion as far as just having people be so brand loyal and not cross shop. The amount of people that buy a Subaru, I really wonder, they can't be cross shopping because I don't know how you cross shop the new Forester with pretty much anything it competes with and then come out and say, yeah, the Forester is the best one here. I don't see it. Take your pick. Any competitor out there you want to pick. I don't see a case for the Forester against any of them. Like any of the main sellers in that segment, I'd rather have everything else. Literally, basically everything else. It's so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the hybrid version will make it a little more interesting, whenever that comes. But styling sucks. Interior is not impressive. It's just I do not like it. But they're popping up everywhere, and Subaru will continue to defy my expectations and logic. And I mean, again, they're laughing all the way to the bank. They're still doing record sales, and they're on top of the world. So they're proving me wrong every day. So who am I? I'm clearly the idiot that doesn't know what I'm talking about, but I don't understand how people do it. Like I'm honestly like wondering if there's a special like scent that's released in the seats or something that tricks people into loving their Subaru or something. Because I'm just like, how are you picking this over everything else in the segment? Anyway, I won't rant anymore, but yeah, Forester's a hard pass for me compared to everything else. No offense if any of you love your 2025 Forester. And let me see here. BM's asking what I think about the Subaru or the Toyota BZ4X. BZ4X, I think, is actually, I think, was given a harder time than it deserved. I think BZ4X is a solid little vehicle. They fixed the charging curve for the 24s, or the second model year, which I think is 24. Fixed the charging curve, and it's an electric RAV4 essentially. They had like a really good idea with that thing. RAV4 is this number one selling vehicle outside of the F-150. Make it electric, and that's essentially what it is. I think they priced it a little too high. Now there's really good lease deals on them, and I am starting to see them pop up more, especially the Solterra, the Subaru version. I'm seeing a good bit of those around here, again, because the deals are finally really good on them. But I think they just priced it a little too expensive. You can't go head to head with Ioniq 5 and EV6 and all these others that do faster charging, better performance. It wasn't going to be good. So they needed to come in at a lower price point. Toyota kind of got a little carried away with, typical Toyota pricing, which is, you pay a Toyota premium sometimes. You're paying again for that reliability and stuff. But I think for the EV buyers, that Toyota reliability doesn't really go as far because, we're talking about electric motors that typically are much less complicated, much more reliable. And there's not as much of that need for a well-built engine or anything like that, So I think, Toyota maybe just kind of were a little over ambitious, but I think they've again corrected kind of the pricing now, and the deals are better. So I think that it's a compelling option if you don't need a bunch of power and you don't need a super fast charge rate, which for most people they don't. So I think it actually is, again, I think it also needs more promotion. I think there's still a lot of people that are completely clueless that car even exists. I don't think there was really any widespread ad campaign that I saw. There was never, any real push for it. And maybe Toyota's happy with that. Obviously everyone wants a hybrid these days anyway, so they're content with the BZ4X just quietly sitting in the corner. But it's a good vehicle in my opinion. I think it doesn't deserve the crap it gets. And Harsher says you should compare a first-gen compliance EV with a new EV. Would be a good comparison test. Yeah, I mean, it would just be, just a complete embarrassment of the first gen stuff. And it'll be the same way with these new gen EVs coming in a few years, with way more range, way faster charging, quicker charging. This stuff really, just improves by leaps and bounds. We're already seeing that. And so, but yeah, it would be fun. And that's another vehicle that'd be so hard to get my hands on, especially here in PA. If I lived in California, maybe there's a decent chance I could, get like a first gen Honda. What was it? Like the Insight EV, I think that they had. There's the regular Insight, but I thought there was an electric version of that. I know there's like the electric RAV4s that did like 60 miles of range, and like a first gen Fiat 500e. That'd be fun to do a review on. All these very early things. That'd be fun. Again, that's one of those things I would like to do. Maybe a few people would watch it. I don't know. But again, this year I am not prioritizing EVs because, especially once the tax credit goes away, there's not going to be a lot of shoppers for them. So, I'm just going to follow the trends on that, even though I love EVs. Again, this is a business, and I'm going to review what everyone's buying as much as I can, which is going to be, hybrids. And, and still going to do EVs when I get the chance. But yeah, it's not going to be, the focus because they're not going to be, they're still going to improve and all that, but it's not going to be something that's going to have a lot of shopping demand, I don't think, here for the next couple of years. But we'll see. Greg's asking, most fun under 15 grand. That depends on your definition of fun. That depends on, needs, wants, all that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to say. Some of my favorite picks under 15 grand. I'd say, the last generation of the Civic Si before it went turbo, you can get a really mint one for under 15. But yeah, that'd be a top pick. I think first gen B or Z, GT86, Scion FRS, a lot of those are under 15 grand. A lot of fun for the money. But I mean, there's probably 100 options, stuff that it comes down to. Again, what is your definition of fun? Obviously, used Mustang GTs going to be a pretty good horsepower per dollar, situation for a lot of those older, probably S197s, under 15 grand, maybe an S550, one that's really beat up might be under 15 these days for a GT. I don't know. I haven't checked, but Mustangs are always solid. Old Camaros, old Challengers, all that kind of stuff. A lot of fun. But if you want handling, I think, again, BRZ, FRS, all those are, pretty solid picks as well. Miata. Answer's always Miata. Can't go wrong with a Miata if you want fun, in my opinion. Lots of good options there. Let me see. And TFI says, if Scion still existed, how would the GR Corolla look like in 2005? Would TRD throw in a supercharged 2ZZ GE, a GR or 2GR FE V6, maybe offer both? That's a fun thing to think about. I mean, if they were to do something like that, I mean, they did do, there was the Corolla, what was it called? I thought they did some kind of like slightly sporty Corolla. I can't remember what it was called though. I feel like it starts with an X or has an X in the trim title, but I'm not sure what it was called. Anyway, I think if they were to do something like that back then, yeah, I don't know. The best thing you'd probably hope for is the V6, not to make it a little bit sportier, or that supercharged, 2ZZ, something like that. Kind of what you saw. To me, it would be something like what you saw with the Scion TC. What they offered with that, and then they offered a supercharger kit. Something like that probably be the best case scenario. Realistically, yeah. Harsher says the older Mini, especially the Minis from the 2000s, were comparable in price to Toyota and Honda, but people who buy these cars don't realize that they're buying a tiny BMW, especially with these older Minis being in similar price range with Toyotas. Their maintenance is extremely high. Yeah, old Minis are not great. Now, thankfully, the most recent generation here, those being the B48 BMW motor, really solid mechanically. Again, might have the electrical stuff. Might have, some expensive maintenances occasionally, but should be pretty solid from what I've seen. So that's the one to get. If you want a Mini that's going to be reliable, go for the newest generation, not the brand new ones, but even those brand new ones, I think still use the B48. But, the current, what is it, F56 or whatever, those are the ones that I'd say would be the way to go. Vishal says, I don't have the time to wash my car myself, so drive-through washes for me a few times a year. I sprayed down my Jetta once in the 5 months I had it. I tell myself it's a daily driver. It will be dirty. Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, even like the Mach-E right now is filthy, just covered with salt. And the roads around here are still crap. It's the winter's always just, I mean, people still wash their cars and stuff and try to, get some of that off. And especially if you're worried about rust, it's a good idea to get that off. But, we're not keeping this thing. I don't really care about the rust. And I know the second I leave the drive-through car wash, it's going to start accumulating that salt again and, look like crap in like 20 minutes of being on the road again, so it's just like, it's not worth it. So it's just going to look like garbage all winter. And like most other people's cars, it is what it is around here. So I can relate to that. And Theodore says, I remember my mom buying a Ford Escort GT. We were stuck on the side of the road for 3 hours. I have a lot of those stories as well. My parents had a 1988 Ford Tempo, and the amount of times as a kid we were stranded on the side of the road, multiple times, stranded in the parking lot of the grocery store, stranded on the side of the road on a trip from Pittsburgh to Detroit. My dad was like scaling a hillside to like get us dinner at a Wendy's or something while we were waiting for a tow truck. I remember sharing French fries with a tow truck driver in like the early 90s. Just yeah. So yes, I have very similar memories with those old Fords on the side of the road, and yeah, that burned my dad so bad on Ford that he never bought another one ever again. He switched to Subaru after that, and he's one of those Subaru loyalists to this day. But Y Hass says, how about them Chiefs? I have no clue. I know you're talking about football, but I don't know what happened with the Chiefs. Don't follow football at all. So yeah, I see Linda says Chiefs win. So thanks, Linda, for that. So thanks for filling me in on that. Yeah, I guess maybe this is probably a bad time to do a live stream if everyone's caught up in the game there. But thanks for the info on that. So the Chiefs, they just won last year, right? So I'm not going to try and talk about this because I'm going to sound like an idiot. So anyway, thanks, Linda, for stopping by too, and happy to see the Chiefs winning. I suppose again, I have no allegiances really. I don't really even follow the Steelers here in Pittsburgh. I'm a horrible Pittsburgher, but yeah, I'm glad there's some excitement about it. And let me see. Harsha says John Deere is getting a lot of complaints from farmers as they will need special software to repair their tractors. Farmers can't crop if these tractors are not working. That's surprising. Yeah, you would think John Deere would have done something reliable. That's crazy. Interesting. Greg says WS6 Trans Am. I'd love to review one. I have a couple Trans Ams that have been offered to me in like the Midwest. I think there's one in Minnesota and couple others somewhere else, but I've always wanted to review one. Never had a chance, but I'd love to someday. Austin says, whatever you do, stay away from flood cars. Sounds like good advice. Yeah, because those electrical gremlins, that's what gets you the most. Harsha says, I can relate to the superstition. My mom sold my grandfather's Honda scooter as he got into a nasty accident with it. She replaced it with a new Suzuki scooter as me and my brother ride on the scooter. Gotcha. Yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, like, again, that Mustang just was cursed, 2 accidents within the course of 12 months, both freak accidents, not my fault, not the car's fault. Just literally the first one was an idiot on a motorcycle that just did not respect his limits. And then, literally just a tree falling literally out of the sky just while I'm driving through a park and crushing the roof. Just sometimes I can't explain it. I don't understand it, but some vehicles just have bad luck, and sometimes it's better just to listen to the superstitions, as irrational as they may be. And Chris says 370Z or 350 with some mods. I don't know anything about the differences in the mod community between the two. I'm so out of the loop on the aftermarket scene and car culture, so I'm a horrible person to ask that, unfortunately. I wish I had a better answer for you, Chris. But I am completely clueless on those as far as aftermarket stuff goes. Joe says, what if you had a portion of this live stream or maybe a separate stream of you going through real cars for sale on, say, eBay Motors or whatever the chat is talking about? Here's why you should buy a 1957 Ford Ranchero. Austin says, that's a good question though, Joe, or good idea, Joe. I can do screen share on here. And that could be a fun thing, even if it's just like in the future. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious how you guys feel about dead space in live streams. I'm not sure. I don't watch a lot of other live streams myself to say, because that's just the thing is like me like typing and stuff. It's hard for me to like talk and multitask, but that'd be a fun thing to kind of just scroll through and say, hey guys, let's like look up the price of GR Corolas or whatever and just do that in real time. I need to like practice getting better with like how to work a live stream as far as doing all these different things, because that would be a fun thing I see some love there for maybe doing that in the future, so you're not all just staring at the either the chat or my face or both for 2 hours. That definitely makes sense. That's a good suggestion, Joe. Thanks for that. And I appreciate the constructive feedback, guys, because that's, definitely don't ever hesitate to hold back. If there's something you want to see, or if stuff just gets boring or stale, or you're not into it, let me know. I appreciate that, because, that's the only way I can improve and know that I need to change something is if I hear about it. So yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna, for next live stream, I'm gonna try and see how to like screen share correctly, because I don't want to like share my entire screen and all the junk I have all over with various folders and notes and all this kind of crap. But if I can, I just gotta find a way to share just that window and do some shopping around. That would be fun. I am a sucker for car shopping for no good reason, so that is definitely something I'd be open to checking out and seeing. Like, for example, we saw there's that C6 Corvette, and for 330 grand, I'd love to look up what is the next lowest mileage C6 in the country, and how much is that one going for, and is it worth a price premium to pay whatever the extra hundreds of thousands of dollars it costs to get the one with 65 miles or whatever. All kinds of interesting things we could do. So great suggestion, Joe. I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to see if I can maybe find a way to easily screen share in the next live stream. Let me see. Dan wants me to review a Slingshot. A Slingshot is a car, technically, and kind of a car, I suppose. I don't love Slingshots. To me, they're just kind of sketchy. I like vehicles that have at least some kind of safety to them. Slingshot doesn't have much. So it's something I could probably, drive around for, half an hour or so just to do a quick little review on it. But I don't have a lot of love for them. I look at all the other real sports cars you can get for the same money used. And I don't know. I can't see the case for a Slingshot personally. Again, everyone likes something different, but I feel like if I reviewed a Slingshot, I would just the whole time be like, why would you get this over everything else that you can get for the same money? So maybe that's unfair. I don't know, but that's my kind of thoughts on the Slingshot. Harsha says, would you consider yourself a Subaru WRX fan, considering how much you crap talk Subaru and mock the new WRX for being lame? I don't really consider myself a Subaru WRX fan anymore. I am a fan of the old ones. I am a 2002 to, I'd say I even like the prior generation fine. I wasn't nuts about them. I'd say really my passion and obsession with WRXs ended with the 2014s, the last year. So I'd call myself a 2002 to 2014 Subaru WRX fan. After that, they're fine. And then this recent generation again, it's fine. Apparently, it's awesome in the mod scene, and for those who want to tinker and boost and all that, it's maybe more desirable than GR Corolla and stuff like that. But to me, the spiritual successor is GR Corolla. It feels like an old WRX as far as how it drives in a good way. And so that's why, as a person who is a fan of what a Super WRX used to be, I guess, to qualify it some more, and being a fan of that, GR Corolla is that now, in my opinion. So that's why I'm now a GR Corolla fan. Way more than a Super WRX fan. So I know it's probably a disappointment, but not me. And Joe says, is there a set in the seats that makes them like Subarus? Bro, that plus I think Subaru relatively has had a recent downfall. I agree with you, but not too long ago, they weren't like this. I know they used to be really good. And again, they still do some really solid stuff. And, they have some niches where, again, if you want a bunch of ground clearance without having some giant thing, it's a really good vehicle. They're little mountain goats with those little cross tracks, the amount of crap you can pack in them, the amount of ground clearance you have, there's certainly cases for it. And I have to say, my parents have an Impreza and a cross track. My mother-in-law has a cross track. A bunch of people I know have Subarus, and, they really love them and are very happy with them. So again, it's one of those things where everyone likes something different. So, that's why I don't want to be obnoxious with the Subaru hate, but like, it just, me being a reviewer and always having this comparison in my mind with everything. It just, the comparison is where it just really falls short, in my opinion. But for a lot of people, that doesn't matter. And Vishal says Corolla XRS. Thank you. So I was on the right track with the X. So thank you, Vishal and TFI, for that. That's what I was thinking of and looking for there. So thank you. Yeah, I don't remember. I think that was just a little bit of a higher revving naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, right? There wasn't anything else going on with that. But I think Corolla XRS was kind of what the best you could have hoped for back then. Again, unless you were a bold Subaru who did this turbo stuff, and Mazda maybe with Protege 5 and the Mazda Speed stuff. There was a few of those things back then, but Toyota was kind of behind the curve on that stuff, aside from MRS, the MR2, and that was pretty much it in that era. Celica, I guess. But as far as true sports cars, they did a real sports car with the mid-engine, MR2, but there wasn't, anything really from the sport compact side from them as much as it should have been, I think. And Stratus, thanks for stopping by. And Harsha says their new digital cluster doesn't look good. They literally carried over the physical TAC and speedo and put it in the gauge cluster. Yeah, that's, I think, the fact that companies aren't being creative, some of them with the digital gauge clusters, shows you how digital gauge clusters, even though they are marketed as a premium, upgrade, realistically, I believe, I'm not 100% certain on every car and every supplier, but I'm pretty certain that those screens are cheaper to put in and produce than an actual set of gauges. So it's a very clever marketing thing, like, ooh, this is this new fancy thing. And if it does add extra functionality, which many companies have invested in, then it's great. But whenever you have a company like Subaru, who, sorry, they like to phone things in, you phone it in, you have the same graphics, you have the same everything, same functionality, and you just say, this is a cost-cutting thing. You're not telling people that, but like people in the know, okay, you don't even bother to like add any extra functionality here. So this is clearly just a cost-cutting measure that is being marketed again as a premium thing. So it's yeah, and I think that differentiates the companies that are just doing it as a cost savings thing and the ones that are actually doing it to try and improve the experience for the driver. There's a very clear difference, and companies are either on one side or they're on the other. There's very few in the middle with that. And it's, of course, Subaru would be on the lazy side of that, in my opinion. But anyway, TFI says also Pontiac Vibe. Yeah, I heard the Pontiac Vibe was great with having that higher revving motor in some of those, and such a fun combo, or partnership, I guess I should say, back then. I see Will also got the XRS there, so thanks so much everyone for helping me out on that. And Stratus says finally test drove a Kona N. It was such a fun car. That's great. Glad you got a chance to drive one. I know MDKN still loves his. He's another member here that really has a blast in his Kona N, and glad you got to try one out there. TFI says Japan had the Toyota Blade Master G, which was a V6 Corolla, and they had a Toyota Will VS. Yeah, all the fun stuff was kept for Japan, and we didn't get any of that stuff. That is one reason why import fans in the past like 15 years here, we've been so spoiled with getting all the good stuff finally from Japan, relatively speaking, at least as far as more mainstream appeal. Obviously we don't get the cool K cars, we don't get any of the quirkier stuff, but at least those main ones, the GTRs and all the other performance vehicles, it's just so awesome we have that stuff now. Rafi says, I think current Subaru low-key deserves it. I think Matt is still a Subaru X fan. We still love our old outdated DJs. Yep. You called it before I even said it. Dave says our 87 Tempo was rock solid until the exhaust manifold cracked at 9 years old. Wow. Well, glad yours was good. Yeah, my parents did not have good luck with theirs. Alternator went multiple times. Some premature rust. They had to get a muffler pretty quickly early on there. And a bunch of various things. I don't remember exactly why it broke down a few other times, but it seemed like it was often alternator related issues, typically, were the things that I remember. I think the one time it was actually the water pump that went, if I remember, long time ago. Anyway, Little Rockstar says, "Hi, man. Hope you've had a great 2025 so far. I've had a bittersweet one. I got rid of the Fiesta ST and the Focus RS at the beginning of the year. Got a new car and it's already having issues. Oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm curious what your new car is there, if you don't mind sharing. But sorry you had to get rid of that stuff. That is, yeah, that's no fun. I mean, as you know, I know the pain of getting rid of your fun cars. It's not a good time. So hope you find yourself in a better position with either that car treating you better, whatever you got there, or something new that'll be better soon. But yeah, I know that feeling all too well, and hope things get better for you here later this year, Blaze. Austin says collector car feed does that, but it's usually junk cars. Sorry, I must have. I don't. That was earlier, I guess, in our conversation. I don't recall. But yeah, it'd be fun. And maybe if you're talking about the screen share thing, that'd be fun to do, though. Yeah, even junk cars, that'd be even more fascinating. I'd like to do that too, like go on Copart and just like scroll around and see what's out there. That's another fun idea. There's always so many good ideas for streams and videos, and if only there were 10 of me to do all the good ideas that I have floating around in my head and the great ideas you guys give me. So many things and no time to do them. Hopefully I can improve that some of these days. But I mean, screen sharing at least is easy to do here in the live stream. That doesn't take any extra, time, obviously. But Harsha says if Subaru had a Toyota moment, they probably would stop making boring cars, which is what the new Toyota CEO did when he started leading the company. Yeah, maybe it's just, the leadership just needs to change. I don't know. But I mean, again, they're doing record sales. They're doing fantastic. And so, everyone's just worried about shareholders and stock prices and, just beating the numbers. And they're doing that. So by all metrics, they are a successful, thriving company that is absolutely doing the right thing from a numbers standpoint. And so that's, again, the phoning it in, they get by on that. And not only they get by, but they do really well. And companies that are trying harder, are struggling to keep up. And so, yeah, it's it's a real mystery, though, to me, how they're doing as well as they are. But yeah, maybe someday we'll get the secret sauce that that's in the Subarus that keeps people coming back for more. And Davey says, what's the update on the household car? Someone else asked about this earlier. No update right now. Yeah, Mach-E still got another year and a half on that. Still kind of weighing our options for that, once that's done. And for me, I still am going back and forth about whether I get a really dirt cheap EV as a little backup car just to run to the airport and back with every once in a while, or have as just a backup car in the rare instance I don't have a press car. I think there was maybe 8 weeks out of the year last year where I didn't have a press car to drive. And in those 8 weeks, yeah, I can share the Mach-E, but I don't like taking that away from Beth and the family. If she needs to drive our daughter around places and stuff, I can't count on that. And so that is the appeal of, it'd be nice to have a backup car so that I'm not stranded at the house, or I don't have to be asking people for rides or borrowing cars, for those weeks when I might not have a press car. That is so hard for me to say. Everyone else has like a regular commute, a regular budget, a regular set of needs. Typically, what you're going to drive and how you're going to drive it and all that stuff. I don't ever know that. For me, it's completely, I work from home. I have, again, these press cars that sometimes they get dropped into my lap a few days ahead of time. Sometimes I got cars scheduled out for 2 months in advance. But I never know what's coming around the corner. I don't know what to expect. And so it's so hard. It's like, okay, I buy a dirt cheap, or I lease a dirt cheap EV here while they're insane on the deals, but maybe it sits in the garage like the Bullet sat in the garage, and maybe I only put 500 miles on it a year. Is that worth paying even a dirt cheap monthly payment to have something collect dust most of the time and also take up a garage space that I could have for a press car to keep it cleaner and not expose the elements and charged if it's an EV and stuff? That's the thing I've been agonizing over the past week or two, because the window is quickly closing on these cheap EV leases, because that credit probably is going away soon. And so I'm feeling the pressure. I'm like, I will never get a car this cheap ever again for a lease. Never again will I be able to get a car this cheap. So it's like this narrow window of like, do I do it or do I not? I might regret it. I might not. I have no clue, because I might have a press car every week for the rest of my life and never have a reason to ever drive the backup car. Or, they could not send as many press cars, or, who knows what happens. And then, I might need it. So it's really, it's a dilemma. And if you have any thoughts on that dilemma, feel free to weigh in. Unfortunately, I'm too tight with money to like just throw away money, for the heck of it, so it's one of these things where I've been agonizing over, do I get the backup car or do I not? So I don't know. It would definitely be way cheaper than the Bullet, and, wouldn't be anything, exciting. It wouldn't be a car for content. It would just literally be something to, again, just get me to the couple of places I need to go, a couple of times a year. But anyway, let me see. Cartoon says Subaru and Mitsubishi love working with other brands. They should work together and make an Evo and STI together. That would be fun if they kind of joined forces after all these years of being in each other's throats. If they could actually come together, that'd be fun. Or even just, yeah. I mean, this is actually something. I was hoping if this whole merger goes through with Nissan and with Honda, like maybe they bring back something fun. Obviously, not I guess if Mitsubishi comes along for that ride, then maybe you have a potential there of, cobbling something together. But again, these companies, they're just all in survival mode. They're terrified of the Chinese competition. They're all bleeding sales in China badly. Every single non-Chinese car company is doing horribly in China, pretty much. And, they're all just in survival mode. So this is, I think, part of why like people are asking, what am I excited for this year? There are some enthusiast vehicles coming, but not a whole lot. We've been really spoiled in the past few years with all the hot hatches and all the fun stuff. And, that's already out there and still being produced and still available, but there's nothing else to, go from there really, for the next few years, probably. So it's just going to be kind of a little bit of a duller year, I think, for enthusiasts. And, we'll just have to wait and see. But, yeah, I'd like to think that, these partnerships will lead to fun stuff. Maybe it will way far down the road, but, again, I think they're all just in survival mode right now. And Rafi says, we're finally selling our 2005 Honda Pilot. I'm looking in the used market to replace it. What would you say are red flags? High mileage and age. I saw a 2020 Pilot EXL all-wheel drive with 101,000 for 21 grand. So I guess if you're sticking to pilots, if that's something, it seems like you're kind of interested in still, getting another Pilot. The only thing about pilots I'd say to worry about is the ZF9 speed. Some people have had some issues with those, I think. So that's the only thing I think, make sure that the maintenance has been done on that, transmission fluid flushes and, check that kind of stuff out, for service records. Aside from that, for me, red flags, honestly, with modern cars, high mileage and age are not really factors. If a car has been had its oil changes done and every scheduled maintenance done, relatively on time, I'm not scared of a high mileage car, especially a Japanese one. But honestly, even a lot of the other brands that aren't Japanese, I still would have no reservations with many of them. I think with the age component for me comes in whenever we're talking about European vehicles, which are often over-engineered, have extra stuff that breaks just due to time, electrical gremlins that creep up as vehicles age. That's another thing where I don't think mileage really plays even into those. I think a lot of those, even German vehicles, again, mechanically are usually pretty solid. It's just weird little things that might go. There might be an odd thing here or there, but the motor and the transmission stuff are solid. It's just, water pumps or, random other little things, thermostats, that might have issues. But I'd say if you're looking at like 2020 Pilots, really keep an eye on the transmission. That's the one, component that I'd say, is the one iffy thing. Other than that, I think the thing whenever I'm shopping, even hypothetically, for used vehicles, is the maintenance has got to be done on time. And not everyone goes to a shop where Carfax reports on oil changes every time. But an ideal situation is I like to see a Carfax where the owners took it to a dealer or anywhere and just had records of an oil change. And even if you're buying privately, private party, even just if you have receipts of when you bought oil, at regular intervals and marked it down and had your own record book. If you have service records and a car has been maintained, I think any modern car, if you properly maintain it, I mean, like, sure, there's the chance that it still can burn you, but I think a lot of the instances we see of cars, not lasting, not going the distance, it's people not doing oil changes on time. That's the biggest one, and you'd be amazed. I whenever I'm searching, just for kicks on Auto Trader for used vehicles and stuff, and I will look at a lot of these Carfaxes because you can see them all, oftentimes on there. The amount of people that are doing oil changes at 13,000 miles and they're doing these intervals that are, some of these cars will go 10. I still don't know if I love a 10,000 mile oil change, honestly, but these ones that are going beyond 10,000 miles, I'm like, sure, the car made it to 100,000. Everybody even be a certified pre-owned or something, but if it's not going to last, if you've done an oil change once every 15,000 miles, good luck. So I think that is really, maintenance is the absolute ultimate red flag. And again, not everyone logs that and not everyone, bothers with that stuff, but you're rolling the dice. I say if you want top peace of mind, get those service records either from the previous owners or, just in that Carfax there. And Carfax will tell you, you don't even have to sit there and read through the whole thing if you don't want. It'll tell you right at the top, regular oil changes. And it's really nice. So that gives you like stamp of approval. This thing has roughly been, maintained well. And to me, that maintenance is absolutely paramount. That is the top thing. So that's the other thing I'd say. Age, I don't care. Mileage, I don't care. There's already, pilots with, 300,000 miles on it that no problems whatsoever if they're maintained well, so I'm not worried about either of those things, just maintenance. So sorry if that was a long answer, but I wouldn't personally, you're talking about that car in particular, 100,000 miles on a 2020 Pilot. If it has good maintenance records, I would not be worried about that car. I think it should go another 100,000 easy. Again, I don't know enough about that transmission. That's the only component. Hopefully it helps you a little bit, Rafi. And let me see here. We are coming up on time. I got about 10 more minutes. I'm going to have to cut it off pretty strictly here at 11 my time here because I got to get ready for my Wagoneer S upload here at midnight. So we will be heading out in about 9 minutes here. So I'm going to do the last questions I can. I see we've gotten behind a little bit. And sorry, Rafi, I just saw your member question too. Thank you so much for being a member for 28 months now. He says, totally forgot about the 9-speed issue with those pilots. We're not sure yet on what we get, but we have to have a 3-row SUV. The new stuff is pricey. Yeah, well, I mean, do some research, see what you find on the 9-speeds for high mileage and, long-term ownership impressions. There's lots of good info, I'm sure, on Reddit, on, a Honda forum, Honda Facebook groups, all that kind of stuff. Look for owners and see what the experiences are on there. If you want 3 rows and you want something, that'll go the distance, it's hard to beat a Highlander. And, any Toyota is easy to recommend. So I'd probably say, that would probably what I would go for is used Highlander, whatever you need to get to your price point. It's going to be the most reliable, probably. Lots of other good options though, for sure. But I think everything is going to fall short of Highlander as far as proven reliability for long term. And Rafi says, just saw the Carfax oil changes were done every 10K. It's definitely off the list. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate, I'm happy I was able to help you. So I really appreciate that you're able to see that and give me the real-time feedback on that. That's awesome. I mean, again, some manufacturers do dictate a 10,000 mile oil change. I still just don't know if I love that. It's fine though. And it also comes down to the age too. Sometimes it's not even so much mileage as it is age. And some people don't recognize that. Like, you need to change your oil once a year regardless. And some of these vehicles, especially lower mileage ones, sometimes I'll catch the Carfax where it's like, okay, you've done the oil change in what looks like a good mileage interval, but you're going beyond a year, well beyond a year on this oil. And again, probably okay to a certain extent. It's not like, the oil turns to sludge immediately at the 1 year mark, but it's one of those things where each day that goes by, that oil is degrading more and more. And so, again, lots of nuances, but again, maintenance is absolutely king for sure. And best of luck with your hunt there, Rafi. And let me see here. Again, last few questions here. I've done a pretty good job, though, I think, keeping up with questions tonight. Hopefully, you guys agree, and hopefully, it's been a good conversation here tonight. So, let me see. Where were we? Um, Dan says, I think if you drive on a slingshot, you would be surprised. I never wanted one being a motorcycle guy, but after driving it, I had to have one. I live in Moon Township. Okay, well, thanks for the heads up there. I mean, definitely send me an email, Dan, if you want, and I will keep it on my list. And I mean, at least you're local. So if I have some spare time to take it for a spin, if you're open to me driving yours, if not, that's completely okay too. I never ask to drive anyone's cars. I always let them volunteer it. But if you'd like to have me drive yours, I'll see if I can get it done this year. That could be an interesting one for sure. Even if for no other reason, just for the views, because I think people would probably be curious to see me driving one. It'd be probably kind of funny. So not opposed. And I'm glad you're enjoying yours too. That's great. And again, everyone likes something different. Cartoon says, wish Ford would bring back a Focus RS again, but at this point it would probably be an EV and lack the fun. I mean, if Ford did a Focus RS that performed like Ioniq 5N, I would 100% be here for that. That would be epic, and I would be the biggest cheerleader for that car. But yeah, Ford doesn't seem interested in even doing that, and especially it doesn't seem like they want to do any kind of gas powered one either. But yeah, Ford's another company. I don't know about the leadership. I really don't know. And Ford's a company, and unlike Subaru, Ford, they're not laughing all the way to the bank. They are struggling. They're just completely destroying their market share in Europe. Just really falling down the list in Europe as far as their popularity. Obviously doing badly in China like everybody else. And here in America, I mean, Mustang had its worst sales year, sold less than the Mach-E. I think it's more of a testament to how popular the Mach-E is than the lack of popularity for Mustang two-door. But regardless, they're not doing well. And I mean, they're doing great with F-150 and stuff, but that's pretty easy these days, I think. So, yeah. It's a shame with Ford. Harsha says the older Subarus had notorious head gasket issues. Don't know if the new ones still have these issues. Yep. I feel like Subarus, and that's one of the other reasons why I don't understand the love for them. A lot of them, even well maintained, seem to start to have issues, around the, 6-figure mark there for miles, where, yeah, I mean, my dad's Subarus, both his 1997 Impreza Outback Sport and his 2007 Subaru Outback, both of those, like 105, 110,000 miles, needed some major engine stuff done. I mean, like timing belt and stuff is normal, but it also needed the head gasket stuff, all these things. All these expensive things started popping up, and then maybe you do it and maybe you're good for another 100,000 miles. I don't know, but I don't think you have to do that stuff at 100,000 miles in a Toyota RAV4, so like, it seems like Subaru owners are just more willing to put money into their cars to keep them on the road. It's not like they're going on the road with no issues. It's just that Subaru owners are willing to pay more to keep them on the road than other owners, it seems, in many cases. But yeah, I think they still do have head gasket issues from what I've seen. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. Joe says, just curious what you would suggest over a Crosstrek / Outback, sticking to something similar in regard to an all-wheel drive small / mid-sized SUV, outdoorsy flair function for that price range. I mean, obviously, like Crosstrek and Outback are two different. So if we're talking, compact is one thing, and then mid-size is another. For compact, I mean, it really comes down to how much ground clearance do you truly need? Because, for Crosstrek, for example, I guess that's subcompact. So, because Crosstrek is subcompact, then compact is Forester, and then Outback is midsize. So we're kind of talking two kind of extremes. And the subcompact thing, I love Mazda CX-30. It actually has pretty good ground clearance as well. Not a ton of space, admittedly. So if you're not into that, there's a few others too that there's just it comes out of what your priorities are. So that's why it really depends on the buyer. Like Honda HR-V has a way plusher interior. I'd rather have an HR-V. I'd rather have a Toyota Corolla Cross hybrid, almost 200 horsepower, getting 40 mpg or more. and actually drives really great, really punchy. I really enjoyed my time in the Corolla Cross Hybrid. That'd be another top one. And all of these kind of have an outdoorsy flair to them. I mean, again, if we're talking like the wilderness versions of those, that's where, you kind of go, don't have as many options to compete with that kind of stuff. And that's kind of one of the corners of the market the Subaru's serving very well. And then as far as Outback, you go up to Outback, I'd rather have Santa Fe Hybrid. You'll hear my thoughts on that here in a couple of weeks. I mean, I basically rather have any of the midsize stuff. I mean, for Outback money, you can get a Mazda CX-70 with an inline six turbo engine, a bunch more space. Again, not as much of the rugged outdoorsy thing. So it comes down to what you're willing to spend price wise, and how much do you need that ground clearance. But I'd rather have Honda Passport. I'd rather have Toyota Crown Signia is competing with Outback. I'd much rather have Crown Signia. Again, same money. I think really right now, midsize SUV for me, top ones are Santa Fe Hybrid, Crown Signia, and then what was the other one? CX-70 are my top three. And again, not as much of the rugged thing. Passport, though, I think the new Passport's going to be really solid if it drives as well as the new Pilot does. And that'd be another one for someone who wants the rugged thing for sure. They're just, all these segments have so many options that I'd rather take all of them. pretty much all of them. Again, but there are those niches where people need specific things, and sometimes the Subaru is the one that wins out for those specific needs. And I see we're just about at 2 hours, so very quickly see if I can scan through here. Let me see. So Lil Rockstar says, part two, what I said earlier, I didn't get anything cool, just a current gen Corolla. Dealership didn't tighten oil filter, so it leaked all over the bottom carriage and less than a quart was left. Oh man, that sucks. Also wasn't willing to work with me on any of it, so most likely picking up a different car. I'm deeply considering a GR Corolla or another RS, honestly. Yeah, whatever you can swing, man. They're all good choices, I think. Just comes down to what you're able to afford. But yeah, I hope you find something better for yourself here soon. I mean, Corolla's a great car. It just sucks that they didn't tighten the oil filter. That sounds like something they should definitely have helped you out on, because that's almost 100% their fault. But yeah, and Ash says, let me see. What do you think is going to be the next gen GT3 for engine-wise? Hybrid flat six? It sounds like they don't want to do hybridization until the very last minute for that car, so I don't think we're going to see hybrid and GT3 maybe for the next generation. I honestly think, especially with the way the world is going in the next 4 years, not only in America, but also in the EU, they're pushing back on these restrictions and stuff. I think GT3 stays non-hybrid until 2035 or whenever they start clamping down and actually starting to try and make some progress with restrictions on stuff. But I think it's going to be a free-for-all for a while. And so I don't think they're going to do hybrid for that. I mean, I guess it's not an insane thing to consider, considering how they're hybridizing everything else. But I think for that car they won't do it. I could be wrong. But let me see. Yeah, Harsha says Nissan should have a new Xterra. It sounds like they are working on it. They haven't confirmed that, but I think Nissan wants to do that, and I think they probably will fairly soon. Gordon says, how comfortable is Odyssey for long road trips? It's super comfortable, fantastic road tripper. And Harsha says, on my campus, there's a New Edge V6 Mustang. Looks very strange in that color combination. Yellow with tan soft top. That is strange. I don't love New Edges. I never loved them. I've reviewed them in the past. Not at the V6, but I reviewed the V8. Didn't love it. My love for Mustangs really started with the old ones in the 60s and early 70s. And then really 05 was the first year, the 05, 06, first year where I actually started liking them, because he says they're all abused to hell. Yeah, that's for sure. All those old Mustangs seem like they're all pretty rough for the most part. Davey says, if you don't end up getting the dirt cheap EV, an idea could be renting cars from Turo that you haven't reviewed yet to make content, but to drive around until a press car arrives. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Yeah, there's that kind of a thing where I can just rent a car in a pinch, and that is something I may end up doing. We will see. It's just kind of the whole thing of picking the car up, getting it. There's a little bit of hassle there, but for sure is a good idea to do that. And yeah, you get a new car to drive and test out for sure. So the thing is, Turo's expensive, and that's the thing with these cheap EVs is like, again, I don't want to give away all the details just yet, and I mean, I'm still working on the deals, so they may even get better. But it's it's like basically the cost of like renting a car for one day, like a regular rental car for a day is what I can lease this thing for that I currently have my eye on. So it's like it's so, and that's why it's like, okay, maybe I burn it, a couple months of the year where I don't drive it, but then the other months of the year, it's like I would be spending more on a Turo for a week than I would for half a year probably of this, cheap EV. So that's kind of why it's like rental cars would be way more expensive than this thing, even for a day, a rental car, pretty much. So that's where I'm at, and that's why it's so tempting. But it's a very good point, and I mean, Turo is something, I do probably want to do more of because there are some cars that are hard to get my hands on that would be nice to do that. TFI says backup car Honda Fit. See, I don't want to spend cash up front. That's the nice thing with the lease is all these are sign and drive. I literally commit to paying a very low monthly payment, and that's it. I don't build any equity, but it's just, again, filling a need of, basically being a standby rental, for dirt cheap. Otherwise, yeah, it'd be fun to have a bunch of old project cars and stuff, but I need something that's like, I guess Honda Fit's reliable, but something that, again, I can have a cheap monthly payment just to get me back and forth to the airport and basic stuff like that reliably. But anyway, let me see here. Last couple of questions. Dan says we need to get you hooked up with a sim rig. I know people, if you decide to hop in, that is way beyond my pay grade. It'd be fun to have someday. But honestly, I'd even just love to hook up hook up a PlayStation and play some old, Gran Turismo 2 and just do some of that kind of stuff, honestly. But SimRib would be fun too someday. And Carsec Wood said, I saw the new Armada at my new Nissan dealer the other day. Nissan's whole lineup is really pretty nice now. I'm very impressed with the new Armada. I reviewed that, back in December. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Really, really nice, and glad to see they're starting to show up at dealers. All right, Dan says we have both. Crosstrek drives more like a car. Outback drives more like a larger SUV. Outback's more comfortable. Crosstrek's more fun. Don't get a Crosstrek with a 2.0. Yeah, I can understand that. Although I tried, the 2.0 and the 2.5 in the past couple of years, and for the average person that doesn't care about having a slow car, the 2.0 is, to me, I think it's fine for the average, non-enthusiast. But if you have any kind of enthusiast in you definitely are going to want the 2.5. He says, in my immediate family, we have 3 Crosstreks, 2 Outbacks, all have been flawless, slow and flawless. Well, I'm glad they've treated you well. That's great. And Timothy's asking best luxury 2-row. That's going to come down to what your definition of best is. Everyone has a different definition. So that's those blanket statements are impossible for me to accurately say. I can tell you what my favorite one is, but it doesn't mean it'll be your favorite or the best fit for you. So they're very, very popular to have those, blanket statements and ratings. I rate this car a 9 out of 10. And it's completely useless in my opinion. So no offense, sympathy, but those types of things, I love providing extra context and having, because I really want to find something that fits everyone and their exact needs. And there is no one best fit for everybody. And Dylan says, y'all have a great one. I'll update you if I buy the GLI for those interested. Cheers. Yeah, good. Best of luck, Dylan, with that, and hope it all goes smoothly. Joe says, checking out your CX-70 review again. Thanks again. Have a great night. Thanks so much for checking it out, and thanks for stopping by, Joe and Cars. And Dan, Dan says, you're looking at a Fiat. You told me all I need to know. That is one of the front runners, I will say for sure. I've been looking at other stuff as well, but yeah, the Fiat is, you got me. that is the top one right now. So we will see. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching the live stream here, and have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out here, and stay tuned for more good stuff this week. I got Wagoneer S again here at midnight for those of you who want to stay up for another hour. And I got Forerunner coming here on Tuesday at 7 a.m. Eastern time here. Trying out the new Forerunner. Some really cool stuff I got to do in that car and that truck as well. Stay tuned for that. That's another one definitely worth watching, and lots of other good stuff here coming for February as well. But anyway, thank you all very much once again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.